The Aussie Stadium is the scene for our next live game, Ireland against Namibia, where it is wet, very wet, but warm, 72 degrees, but they're loving it. A full house inside the Aussie Stadium, 40,000 people there. But Brendan, you don't have happy memories of playing Namibia.
No, unfortunately, we went as a sort of a warmer-up for the '91 World Cup for 2 weeks down to Namibia in 1991, obviously, and I can still feel the pain of
some of the hits
matches having been lost. Yeah. The one thing I'd say about the weather, interestingly, it suits Ireland now, in fact, to have drier ground. But the only thing is, I was in Namibia for 2 weeks. We didn't see a cloud for the whole time.
I think the Namibian fans, if they travelled, would take photos of the clouds and the rain, because they haven't seen rain for a year and a half in Namibia.
But here they come, out into the rain. Ireland led by the talisman Keith Wood, of course. Let's hand over to our commentary team in Sydney, David Soul, and first, Nigel Starmer-Smith.
Yes, good morning, good evening. What Brendan didn't tell you, of course, is when he was in Windhoek, it was the biggest party they've ever had in the new Namibia. That's why they lost those tests, never mind. Well, I think David Solar and I are back in Sydney. I think so, because that's where we're told we are. We just get on board planes and hope they land in the right place. David was in Townsville, of course, last night, and I was in Melbourne seeing the Wallabies cut loose. And today, the Aussie Stadium, good crowd, great stadium, and they're all here to see Ireland. Well, there is, of course, the fact that Namibia won both those test matches way back. There's one of the bigger men, J.M. Mayer, there, just loosening up. It's a nation, really, on the opposite corner of the world, of disparate strength and structures, that now face each other. Here in the lineup, well, Namibia have a side of, we said, mostly amateurs, this vast country, but there is that lion tamer there. Undoubtedly the most famous player in their side, Schalk van der Merwe, the wild man of their party, they call him. The captain alongside him, Sean Thurton, number 8. Good half-backs, as we heard earlier, Husserman and Bessels, and now an Irish side. Well, it's very much a strong side Ireland to put out. Conquerors of Romania, of course, hoping for a confidence-boosting line before they meet those two tough opponents, Argentina and Australia. Wood, Hayes, Horan there, and the new look-back row. But otherwise, well, they've got the rapier and the sword in midfield in O'Driscoll and Maggs. Now, once more, we can look forward to the beautiful versions of the anthems of Namibia. And it will be Namibia first. The anthem, Namibia, land of the brave. A huge plateau, 750,000 square kilometres, just 1 million people. Wonderful national parks, Kalahari Desert, Etosha, Okavango. The Irish anthem, Come the Day.
Oh
The Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland combined in that song. Alongside me, David Soul. It would probably be foolhardy to talk about a formality, wouldn't it?
Well, one never talked about formalities in World Cup rugby, but you'd have to expect Ireland to overcome Namibia quite comfortably and pick up a bonus point by scoring 4 tries. The interesting thing from my perspective, I think, is the fact that Eddie O'Sullivan has gone with Ronan O'Gara. I think he's still a little bit undecided as who his first choice number 10 is. And the back row, Quinlan, Easterby and Miller, no real physical presence in the back row. They've got Costello on the bench there. And so it'll be interesting to see what sort of style of game they want to take. They want to play without a really robust ball carrier.
It really is, isn't it, this remarkable luxury of having O'Gara and Humphreys from whom to choose. It's just shades of the old days, isn't it, with Tony Ward and Ollie Campbell.
Yes, it is. That fellow Tony Ward, he's a couple of boxes long. We're last commentating for Irish television. Great character.
Well, Namibia enter this game knowing they've won both their encounters against Ireland. Rather special circumstances in Windhoek some time ago, and they're wanting to do well, perhaps better than they did against Argentina, losing 64-14. Likewise, Ireland, I think they'll be wanting to step up a gear. Romania was okay, good enough, but 45-17 wouldn't have been terribly satisfying, and of course they do have that memory of that nightmare quarter-final playoff in the last World Cup when they lost to Argentina. That's something that Keith Wood and the others around will want to put behind them. This time they've got Argentina to come next, and then Australia. But now it's Namibia. Referee Andrew Cole from Australia. Well, he's a referee and a dentist, so no funny jokes about being well drilled or any such words. The first touch is from O'Gara. Beautiful touch. Straight down the line, the educated boot of Ronan John Ross O'Gara. Formerly Cork Pond, but of course principally a man of Munster, and what times they've had in European rugby. Good ball for Namibia. Aki Susselman played quite a lot of his rugby in South Africa, part of the Mpumalanga squad. Fullback Gervin Dempsey, the only real specialist fullback in the squad. Namibia again through J.M. Mayer. It's Ireland possession, tied it up I think by O'Kelly. O'Kelly and O'Connell should be far too strong. Although Namibia do have Heino Senekal, some will know of course as a member of the Cardiff Blues squad back home. Again, kicking for position. That's put pressure on deep inside the Namibian 22. And that's the kind of ground that Ireland will be happy to make. Difficult ball. Wet night, of course, I should stress that. Deon Mouton on the wing, but only getting a few metres upfield to the 22.
Well, conditions are a great leveller. It has been pouring with rain for about the last 45 minutes here at Aussie Stadium, formerly the Sydney Football Stadium. And I think Ireland will want to play very much a tactical game, territorial and possession.
Keith Wood, the captain, with that throw. The talisman, really, of Irish rugby in recent years, but of course had a disastrous injury-strewn year last time round. There's Hayes just coming out of the maul, driving deep into the 22. And still they go. Got it on course again. They come round the back, add weight again. Alan Quinlan there. So too Keith Wood himself. Within 7 metres now. The forwards just love this sort of movement. Can they control it? Looks like they can. There's Quinlan. And they just don't have the strength to compete with that organised wedge of power.
Well, very straightforward, very controlled, very disciplined play by the Irish forwards there. A lot of chat earlier this week about the way in which England used the driving maul as an attacking, potent weapon. But that time, Quinlan spinning off the edge, no one obstructing him. There he is, clear in space. And poor Hanky Husselman couldn't do anything about it.
Alan Quinlan, his third try, comes, well, he was born in Tipperary, so he's a long way from there, David.
I don't believe you just said that, Nigel.
Conversion attempt is by Ronan O'Gara.
But there's a long way to go in this match.
Indeed. There's 3.5 minutes on the clock. Not quite as quick as Australia last night, scoring in 19 seconds against Romania. O'Gara will be keen to get a high percentage tonight, just perfect. Well, they are so well blessed with such accomplished goal kickers as well as talented fly-halves. And O'Gara, but it's not his first points of the World Cup because he scored a conversion as replacement in the opening game against Romania. But that will give him all the confidence he can kick in these conditions from so far out. Brilliant. There's a knock-on. Advantage to Namibia. You can see the rain now. It's just tipping down. It's been sunny, but they did say there would be showers later. It's warmish. As warm as they'd have you believe in the studio. Off goes Husselman. Neat little chip. Pressure here. O'Driscoll. But still in play. Well, they've got some very quick runners in the backs here, Namibia, based on the National 7 squad who've been playing the IRB 7 circuit all year. So expect some good running, but will they get ball? Ireland kicking it away again. Back there is O'Gara. Gaining ground competition continues. Not a bad drive, good support from Senecal. Husselman once again using the short side via Vessels. Didn't go to hand. Wood on hand instead. Here's Stringer. O'Gara. Well, I was going to say beautifully picked up by O'Driscoll, but did go forward. Mags on the bounce, had gone forward by then, hit the outside.
Well, it was wasted possession by Namibia. Senecal was lying very, very flat off that ruck ball. And then you can see how difficult, it wasn't a great pass, but you can see how difficult it is, that rain lashing down here.
No ball, waiting, we're waiting.
As soon as he's in the lineup, you expect a little bit of magic somewhere along the way. No doubt we'll get it. Brian O'Driscoll, of course, former captain, with Woods back in command again. That's out on the full. That is Husselman. He's 31. He's played some top-class rugby with the South African emerging squad, and he had a bit of time with the Blue Bulls in the Super 12. So we shouldn't be too patronising or disdainful of some who are amateurs, but others who've been very much professional within this squad. But there really is a wild man who hunts and tames lions and cheetahs, conservation purposes. O'Gara. That's beautifully done. Oh, and the follow-up. Well, it just eluded Shane Horgan in the end. He almost camouflaged himself against the green, and I think wasn't spotted in time, but that was good following up by the tall Leinster winger.
Well, he started off very wide. He was right on the touchline when O'Gara put that kick through, and I think that was what deceived the Namibians. Looking a little bit closer in defence.
Front jumper is O'Connell, middleman is Kelly. On the Irish throw, 5 metres out. This is Wood, where he loves to stand and set up one of those familiar charges. Here's Stringer. A bit of interference there. Foran's come in as a late replacement for Reggie Corrigan's got a bit of injury trouble. Here's Stringer. Now we're going with Miller. Advantage to Ireland. You heard maybe referee Andrew Cole just saying in on the side. No immediate advantage, so he's given the penalty and he's going to warn Senecal. Played all 99 World Cup games for Namibia. That was their first appearance in this World Cup. They've come through again as winners of the African qualifying group.
The ball was clearly in there.
Had a very dramatic playoff to qualify for this one, home and away against Tunisia, and it ended up being decided on the try count. Here's the infringement.
Yeah, Senecal just coming over the top there. He's actually come in from the side a little bit earlier on, which I think was the first penalty.
Big man, 6 feet 6, 17 stone. Played some earlier rugby with Eastern Province, EP, in PE, and was player of the season.
The signs that Ireland are confident they're going for the scrum rather than the 3 points at goal.
I can't see how Namibia can compete here in the set piece. Safe enough. Stringer held up on the line with O'Driscoll, and the try finally is awarded. The follow-up, and at the bottom was Dempsey.
Yes, I thought O'Driscoll should perhaps have shifted a little bit earlier. He took 2 men out in defence and then was able to release the ball over the top to Dempsey. Here he comes on the blind side. He takes 2 men there, and Dempsey eventually gets driven over by his forwards. Somewhere in the middle of that. There it is. Takes out Wessels and Pedro, I think the fullback, O'Driscoll, and then Dempsey driven over very well by his forwards.
He's looking at the tries there with Dempsey. That's his 11th for Ireland, this specialist fullback, member of the talented Leinster squad. He's played very much the fullback position in his own recent seasons. Still the rain falls. Coming up to 9.5 minutes as O'Gara strikes. Not this time through the post.
And I think Ireland were actually a little bit surprised at the ease with which the Australians brushed aside Romania yesterday, scoring 90 points. Ireland struggled a little bit against the Romanians, and a very tough encounter up front.
And of course, Australia is the last match in this Pool A. Just to reiterate, after Namibia, then it's Argentina and Australia, a very tough qualifying pool. 2 to go through. And a lot to be decided over the next couple of weeks. Keith Wood there. O'Connell. Obstruction using the arm in the line out on the opposing jumper.
Yes, and in tight groups like this, bonus points take on a far greater significance. Ireland halfway to getting one here with 2 tries on the board.
26-year-old Ronan O'Gara. Of course, he was in some doubt for a long time, having broken a wrist and missed 2 months. Came back and played against Samoa on their summer tour. Since when Ireland have beaten Wales, Italy and Scotland in their warm-up games. O'Kelly, another of the older brigade, that's to say, from the 99 World Cup. 7 in this squad, and a couple who played in 95 as well, including Keith Wood. So, possession, Husselman chasing his own little chip through. Horgan goes back, tall, lanky winger. And has been short of competitive rugby, of course. Shane Horgan has been out pretty much since April. Down the line to Maggs from O'Driscoll. Maggs, oh, Hickey had come inside. It's kicked on by Mouton. Or if you're French, Mouton. Not a sheep.
Well, Dennis Hickey came on the short ball there. I don't think he communicated it terribly well. And you can see how slippery it is. Players and balls sliding all over the place.
J.M. Meyer, Johannes Meyer. He's going to have a lot of hard work, Husselman, behind a losing pack, inevitably, one senses. And in these conditions, not easy. Good service, though. 2 Vessels, Stellenbosch University student. It's a pity, really, that they're not getting ball because they are talented halfbacks.
Well, even if they did get their fair share of possession, it's got to be quality possession in conditions like these. Anything scrappy is just going to be very, very difficult to manage.
It's been one of those days where it's been beautiful all day, and we arrived in Sydney, the sun was shining, and my producer said, well, he's going to sit in the sun for half an hour to recover from the flight. Within 5 minutes of it clouded over. Now it's raining.
It was lovely in Townsville.
Lucky you. Here we go. Vergara. They're on the 22. Eager for points, eager for tries tonight. And of course, these players wanting to make their claim. Those who are on the fringe of the, if you like, top test side will be thinking this may be the only chance I get. And in these conditions, not easy. Good running by Hickey. Hickey knows how to score, tries, and he's going to make it. Oh, great score, Dennis Hickey. Ireland's record try scorer. Shows you why. 2 in the opening game against Romania. 22 becomes 23. And this man is just going further and further into the record books.
You want to check the touch line as the ball is round.
Don't tell me there's going to be a television replay.
Well, it's been quite extraordinary, the degree to which referees are uncertain in their decisions. And that time it was the touch judge who said, well, I'm not sure whether he went into touch or not. Well, you know, you're there, that's your job. Make the decision, make the call. Nothing wrong with that. Why on earth spend time looking at a television replay?
I mean, look where the legs are. They're nowhere near. I mean, the other player's gone sliding out, but Hickey not. He really has become quite a flying machine, this fellow. Scored 4 tries against Italy in the warm-up games. That equalled the Irish record of a match.
Now, you see where the touch judge is in that situation, and see where Dennis Hickey is. He's nowhere near the line. The touch judge is well positioned, but he said, I'm not actually terribly sure whether he went to touch or not.
Time on.
Well, what a surprise. The try's been given. And Kelvin Deaker of New Zealand is up in the little box with all the replays. No one had any doubt, least of all the Namibians.
I feel a little bit like Colonel Buffton complaining, you know.
What?
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Great kick from O'Gara. So we'll break off for a moment here because I just wondered what you just said. Who?
Well, it's a sort of Colonel Buffton comment. You know, in my day, we just made a decision and we just jolly well got on with it, didn't we?
Quite right, yes. Nice little share of the ball here. He's class act. He's had a real rejuvenation of his career, Dennis Hickey. First capped in 97. He's now scored, what, 9 tries, is it, in the last 4 games, including this one. That's going some. That's Dempsey. And Hickey's off again. Stringer. Shane Horgan coming across. And Marcus Horan. But it's Husselman with possession.
Pretty solid Irish defence as well. We're very much in the face of Namibian forwards when they're on the drive and break the advantage line.
Well, plenty to smile about. Dennis Hickey. Channeled by Sean Thurter, the captain, tries to do something with it. Now the pick-up, underway by Husselman. Going for the outside break is Vessels. Good support, Husselman again. Well, I think he went in early then, Shane Horgan, and I think there's going to be a penalty at the least.
Didn't have the ball.
Didn't have the ball. Too right he didn't. He's a big man on the wing there. Not quite a Lomu dimension, but 15.5 stone, 6'4".
Intelligent play there. Wessels it was, saw his winger was very wide, so thought, well, rather than pass it, I'll just chip it across. Good improvisation.
Vessels, who only came into the side, has a late decision in the qualifying game, was crucial playoff games against Tunisia. Seems to have earned the top berth in the number 10 jersey. So, in the 22, Husselman, Vessels, well, the gap was never there, and if there was a little one, it soon closed. They still have possession, now with J.M. Mayer, 7 metres out. Husselman to his winger. Vincent Dreyer, Husselman once more, just glances up, sees a bit of a gap, big hit comes in from O'Kelly. And the chase on, the cover from Mouton. Good elusive run from him, unlucky, he's going to be called back for a knock-on. These, I mentioned at the start, these youngsters from the Sevens circuit really have plenty of pace, and I just hope we can see them with a little bit more room and a bit more time to show the skills which have impressed on the IRB Sevens circuit often.
Well, the knock-on comes when the Namibian fullback Pedro goes down on the ball, can't quite control it. Lovely step though by Mouton.
The French version now, then, is it?
He's certainly not sheepish, is he?
No. Just a little break here, and a chance to tell you that immediately after this game, on ITV2, you can see Georgia versus Samoa. And then don't forget, all of you, especially north of the border, tomorrow Scotland are in action in Brisbane, where they take on the USA. And that'll be on ITV1 at 10 AM. And David Soul, with luck, will be there as well. All those details, of course, and lots of rugby on the website. That's www.itv.com/RWC. And we're here at the Aussie Stadium, home of the New South Wales Waratahs. And it's Ireland who lead. 19 points to 0. We're coming up to, what, 18 minutes into this first half. Still, the rain falls, I'm sorry to say. Furter looking to take it himself. Held by Stringer and knocked on with advantage. And I think Millard's broken off there. Stringer on a bit of a feather bed here. Quinlan, try scorer. Stringer. O'Gara. No way out for O'Driscoll on this occasion. It's a penalty. It's a long-standing partnership, of course, these two, O'Gara and Stringer, who went to school together and then went to university together, Presentation Brothers College, and then University College Cork, and then met up again in Ireland A colours. And they played often enough together, of course, for Munster, and then the full international side, so they should know each other's game by now. Virtually matched game to game. Well, another try would give Ireland some early comfort. 4 tries for a bonus point. And we've got Hayes.
Yes, Hayes. The bald head of John Hayes.
What?
A close-shaven haircut. Blood injury was here. Is that picked up? Something falling out.
Doing Christian Brothers School, Shannon, Munster, almost synonymous with the club and province. John Hayes played all the last 4 Six Nations championships, but never played any rugby till he was 18. So if you haven't played up to now and you're less than 18, don't worry, you can still become an international. And there's one on the other side, of course, who didn't get capped until he was 33. So don't give up and think you're too old. In fact, David Soul is thinking of making a comeback. Ireland put the pressure on, 7-8 metres from the Namibia line. Is there a try on here? Back row was spun off. Held, and then away by Stringer. There's the little wedge outside. Of course, they practice all these routines with all this possession. And there's someone lying over it and impeding the ball from coming back. It's a penalty, and it's going to be... I think Senecal in trouble again. I think he's the culprit. They don't need a yellow card. I mean,
It's too many times, all right? I've told you to be positive. It's not working, all right? It's going to have 10 minutes rest.
no
Be
choice,
positive,
I suppose.
breakdown. Clearly, stopping the flow of the ball.
that really is a blow, because Namibia's whole pack has been fashioned around this man, an outstanding player.
Well, I think it's the right decision to make.
Yeah.
I was going to say the referees, he's penalised Namibia 2 or 3 times now for slowing the release. And Ireland really needs quick ball back, especially from phases like that.
12 metres out, back row. Off goes Miller, bounces off one tackle. Looks for glory under the post, held up. Stringer's there. Half of Ireland are outside him. But now it's Miller who's not released.
Don't protect the ball.
Don't protect the ball, let it go.
Don't protect it.
And a momentary relief for Namibia, who are now, of course, down to 14 men for 10 minutes with the yellow card, sin-binning offence for Senegal.
Well, I thought Van der Merwe was very lucky not to be penalised for going in over the top there, but well, perhaps the Irish support wasn't quite there quick enough.
Well, still raining. Did they issue napkin touches to everyone who came in tonight? Because either that or it's pure defensive, everyone seems to have the same role. Good breakout at the line-out. Mayer setting it up. Husselman. Dutoy. They really have a battle now with the 7-man pack, remember. Vessels. Puts up to Gary Owen. Taste of the Irish for themselves. Follow-up is by Corn Powell. But Ireland are there with numbers, with power, with strength. And secure possession against Stringer. Big gap. Well, nearly through. Woody looking for it. Oh, well, really great athleticism. But alas for naught by Malcolm O'Kelly.
Lying down, made the tackle. Your feet to make the tackle.
Just gets your feet to make the tackle. Not sure who the guilty party was. Namibian anyway.
Well, these modern balls have all sorts of dimples on, and you can see some of these players have the little mitts on, which have special sort of suction pads to help you grasp the ball. But there's nothing like a downpour like this to make a ball like a bar of soap.
Since some people would argue, well, shouldn't this stadium have a roof? But this is part of the game of rugby, isn't it? In the rain sometimes.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think you see the ball squirting out of Malcolm O'Kelly's hand. I think it is a great leveller, and it forces teams to play to the conditions, and you have to be adept and able to be flexible enough to alter your tactics.
Yeah. No doubt who's in control at the moment. But I guess they're far from being content at this stage. Ireland, they really want a convincing performance, and this is the flying maul almost. It's really got some momentum going, and they come again, and very hard to defend against. You have to keep coming round from the front to the back and come in behind the backmost foot. But somehow, I think that was the captain, Sean Furter, who rescued it back. And Vessels kicks deep. Dempsey is there. Wide open spaces, no one out. Tedrow scampers across. Bit on his own. Dempsey there still. Outside his 22. Oof. Now then, crowd like the chance of Namibia here. Someone knocked it on at close quarters.
Well, you have to say, with Namibia reduced to 14 men, Ireland really aren't capitalising on this one-man advantage that they have. In fact, Namibia are playing considerably better with 14 than they had done with 15. Tactically, they're controlling the ball, they're putting Ireland under pressure, they're forcing them to make mistakes, and they're really looking pretty good at them.
Well, we've got a glimpse of Ronaldo Pedro there. Dupriya Grobler, and the injured players, Keith Lensing, biggest man in their squad at 19 stone plus. Another who plays some of his rugby for EP in South Africa. Handling errors 6 to 5. So half for perfection here.
Well, hardly surprising there's been 11 handling errors in conditions like these. You can see the players absolutely soaked through.
Quite a terrific crowd here in the Aussie Stadium. The cricket test match has been going on next door. Zimbabwe and Australia. Stopped because of bad light. But we have the most fantastic floodlights, as we do here. It's played in their half, I think, is the message from Ronan Agara.
Well, Eddie O'Sullivan, I think, will be reasonably content with his side at this stage. Of course, he's a common denominator between the team that lost twice to Namibia, as he was the fitness advisor back in 1991.
By all accounts, they had a good time there.
The Irish always have a good time.
That's true. Stringer, Hogan outside. Tried the little chip through, rebound off a Namibian player. There he is, back in position. Woody. Nice whip past that from Stringer, put momentum into the movement. Dempsey's in the line. Hickey's outside. Dempsey looks for him, shows it, thinks he might get away with it. Took the choice of trying to fool the defence, the last man with the little dummy, but it wasn't bought, and he just acknowledges the fact to Hickey, who probably has streaked home.
Well, I think he should have given it a little bit earlier.
Yeah, there's Maggs, Kevin Maggs. Such a robust midfield player.
He'll show the ball. I think if he'd given it earlier, Hickey would have been shown the defenders a clean pair of heels. Play stopped for another injury. Really difficult to see from our commentary position where we are, because we're right up in the gods here in the Sydney Aussie Stadium.
It's just like being in a plane again, isn't it, David? It's Ronaldo Pedro, anyway. We are so high, I think, as far back as I've ever been, barring the old stands at Port Elizabeth in South Africa, where one felt you were actually, well, you could really only watch the game through a pair of binoculars. Just going back a bit.
It took me forever to get your oxygen tank up here as well.
So, on comes Cor van Tonder, with Meyer replaced at hooker. Of course, they're missing one of their old campaigners in the hooking position anyway, in Hugo Horn. He's a player with the Griquas. They did have trouble, of course, with some players not being released from their Currie Cup sides. So, Meyer is off. Van Tonder is the new man wearing 16. And if anything, the rain gets heavier, which is a great shame, I have to say. And as everyone says, it's the old myth about Ireland and the rain, but actually they're a dry weather side in recent times. I'd much rather have it as a dry ball, I'm sure. Keith Wood setting it up. Now, remember, still 14 men. They're struggling hard, Namibia. Well, one has to say they've contained Ireland bravely in this last 6 or 7 minutes that their man's been off.
Well, it's interesting to contrast the pace of this game in relation to the game between England and South Africa last night in Perth. There isn't just quite the same intensity about it as this evening here in Sydney.
Nothing like, I would say. You're right. And in terms of pace as well, I think the way that, you know, Australia took apart Romania was again a different pace, but it was a dry ball, and it would be wrong to underestimate the significance of the weather here tonight. Off goes Quinlan. He slipped on takeoff almost. Stringer hassled. Harried, good work by Furter. Well, as with Canada, I suppose, several other countries in the World Cup. Very hard for Namibia to get their side together. They've got quite a few of their squad who have their rugby in South Africa, and of course the country itself is so vast. You get a player like Sean Furter, who's from a very remote town in the north called Tsumeb, and you're talking thousands of miles again, just in the distances. And then you have the lion tamer, who's in the wilds as well. Here come Ireland now. Well, this is Kelly. Kelly, a few men outside him, didn't he? But opted not to. Quinlan does. Slick pass. Horgan, just short of that line. Now they've men over wide. Do they need them? Perhaps they're all trying to do a little bit too much on their own. There's, what, a four-man overlap here. And the referee's seen a knock-on. It looked from here as it might not have been, but it clearly was. Advantage will be Namibia's. That's all how it ends.
Well, that was criminal by O'Kelly. He had about 4 or 5 people outside him and he decided to go himself. He'll need to have a serious word with himself at half-time. And then Brian O'Driscoll did the same thing. He had another 4 or 5 people outside him. So I just wonder whether there's an element of complacency setting in with this Irish team at the moment. They've got 19 points ahead. They've got the hunger for the try line, and again they're still not capitalising on this one-man advantage.
Well, it was 13 minutes of the game that Ireland scored their third try. We've now played virtually half an hour, and I should imagine that Eddie O'Sullivan will certainly not be happy at this moment.
Senecal getting ready to come back on. Wasn't the best of passes by Ronan Nagara. Kevin Maggs having to stretch for it. But just tenacious defence by Namibia. They're sticking in there, keeping to the task. You just wonder what a few points would do for their confidence.
So half an hour virtually into this first half. Namibia on their own line and behind it, in fact, and that's a great kick by Wessels to clear. Emil Wessels, the Namibian fly half, takes the pressure on.
A fabulous kick. It was all of 50 metres because he was about 10 metres behind his own try line before he let fly with it.
And a boost for them. They've survived 10 minutes with 14 men without conceding a point in that period. It's been the best passage for Namibia and perhaps the most disappointing one for Ireland at this juncture. 19-0 it stands. Terrific to see so many here for a game involving neutral sides, so to speak, apart from, of course, the Irish within Australia who've come here in strength and supporters from home. Horgan, juggling. No knock-on, says referee Cole. Now then, well, they've gone the short side. It will work. No, it won't. It's a very good cover on Dempsey. Well, it was begging to come the other way, wasn't it?
Yes, again, some of the decision-making not that clever by the Irish side. They had 4 on 2, they went for a miss pass, but they allowed the touchline to become an extra defender for Namibia. It was 4 on 2, but by putting the wide pass out, the touchline just became an extra man for Namibia. Not intelligent play.
Look at that balance of possession, sort of 70-30 almost. There's little Ronaldo Pedro, small but experienced. And one of the players they're missing in Namibian colours is Leon van Dijk, who's a Western Province Currie Cup player. Not a stoppage at all as well, it seems. And Namibia, short line out on their own line. Hayes at the back there. Namibia, so sorry. This is Maggs. Still with Ireland, attempted little chip through, doesn't work. It's a bit of a chapter of errors here, one way or another.
Time out. Upstairs.
We've seen it a few times where what you might call
Have a look. Time out.
first-class sides playing minnows, just lacking control. France against
just
Japan
check,
last night, Scotland against
who's
Japan,
grounded the ball
unable
first?
to really control the pace of the game, the
And
shape
whether
of the
it was,
game,
lost
with any
or
degree of
tied.
consistency or for any extended time frame. And that's what is happening to Ireland again this evening. I mean, it's not easy conditions, but the number of sort of unforced errors that appear to be taking place, they're almost overcomplicating things rather than just playing a very straightforward territorial game and forcing Namibia to make the mistakes rather than making them themselves.
Big hit on Vaughan Powell. So we've got it's almost like a standoff at the moment. With can't really see.
Well, I think they must be going to the video referee for the try there.
Yes, with Marcus Horan.
I think as they're looking at Horan was actually making the tackle there, and he questioned whether he had downward pressure before.
I doubt he would even have been aware that he might have scored it.
Would be the most surprised Lucette prop forward.
In a sense, that sort of almost come out of the blue that took him by surprise. Here's a long delay. Kelvin Deeker, the official in charge of the television review.
Corner Powell it is who loses the ball over the try line. The question is, did he get downward pressure on with his right forearm before Marcus Horan did, and he sort of flopped on the ball.
Horan wasn't in control until
Calvin.
after that, was he? I mean, after what's he going to say here? It was a good moment, I think.
Okay. So he forced the ball over the line. So it's a try. Is it what you're telling me? Okay.
Forced the ball over the line, and it is a try. Very well. Well, we know he scored it.
Well, Lucette prop forwards don't score many tries, so he'll be very thankful to be credited with that one.
His very first. He will indeed be pleased. That's his first try, his 14th international, and one that's, I think, taken everyone by surprise, really. It's rather like the players that had to appeal to the umpire to say, could we have a ruling on this? We just noticed it might be a try. Fooled the crowd, and must confess it wasn't immediately apparent to me.
No, but it's significant because that's the 4th Irish try, and that's their bonus point.
Unlucky, really, for Namibia. Scrappy period of play, and a lucky Irish try, I have to say. Here's O'Gara. There's nothing lucky about that. Sweet and true. And so we're up to 26, and that will end a long period, really, of frustration for Ireland. Still drizzling. It's eased off. It's not cats and dogs like it was earlier. O'Gara. That's a good half volley to pick up. And it's going to be a knock-on anyway, I think.
Well, I think Vincent Dreyer just touched the ball before it went into touch. So they were unable to take the quick one because eventually an Irish throw-in.
Visage of Keith Wood there. Paul O'Connell. Control Woody, someone's cry. And the control was lost.
Well, I think that's the sort of maul that John Eales was complaining that England used illegally, where Keith Wood had 3 players with no opposition in front of him, trying to control the ball at the back of it. In the end, he dropped it.
Plenty of Irish support in the stadium. Haven't hit the heights yet, but whoops, it's that slippery. This time, straight to Maggs. Tapped on or just avoided by Horgan. O'Driscoll. Hickey. Advantage being played. Hands on the ground after the tackle. It's Keith Wood special, this one. Goes on an arc one way, then the other, then goes head for the line. Held up. 3 men wide. Who's going to score it? Somebody. And it's finally Eric Miller.
Well, he'll be thankful that the tackling was a little bit lax, because he had a 3 or 4 man overlap. Had they not scored there, he'd have been kicking himself. Look at the Irish lineup there outside him. There were no Namibian defenders there at all, and only Miller's strength took him through 3 or 4 rather flaccid Namibian tackles.
So someone who's really felt he's got a point to make, not just tonight, but in recent times. Only 6 caps in the last 18 months. It did come back with a vengeance in the summer preparatory internationals. Eric Miller scores his 4th try for Ireland. His first in this World Cup, his first appearance. 2 more points for Ronan O'Gara, kicking machine.
Ireland have riches aplenty in the back row. When you think players like David Wallace left behind. See Anthony Foley, Victor Costello, all these fellas not featuring tonight. Well, Costello on the bench.
Well, certainly the absence of Wallace was a bone of contention for many. Obstruction against Ireland is going to be a penalty.
Well, that's the illegal mauling that John Eales and various others were trying to influence referees about for the England-South Africa match. Instead, Ireland have been penalised. Well, if Ireland are playing Australia, then perhaps there's a little more to it than just concerns about the English as an attacking potent weapon.
4 minutes to play of this first half. If you've just joined us, welcome. We're in the Aussie Stadium in an overcast and rainy Sydney. With a fabulous stadium, and Ireland are in command. 33-0 against Namibia. Namibia crowd getting behind the underdogs, as they often will in this World Cup. And there's a knock-on, the line in sight.
Well, they're going to get another 10 metres.
Ireland has been approached. That's the try line at the back there. This is Akis Husselman. Trying to set it up for the big man of the pack. That's Keith Lensing. Husselman again. Vessels. Luke with his scrum half. Flicks over to Van der Merwe, the Lion Tamer. It's a try for Namibia. And it's scored by Corn Powell. Crowd love that. Good on them.
Well, there was a hint of a forward pass, I thought, in that movement. But the referee fairly adjacent to it. And despite this crowd being predominantly Irish, they've really appreciated this score by Namibia. Good support.
Great offload coming up from Schok van der Merwe. Here he is, the number 6. He's the wild man of the party. Great layoff. Good support. Well earned just before half-time. So there'll be a lot of contentment amongst the supporters and the players. Big boost to them before the interval. And so Emil Vessels in front of the post, doesn't miss, shouldn't have missed either, but it's 33 points to 7. And a big boost to the Belrichians.
And well deserved. Now this is the pass which I thought was a little bit forward, but very difficult to tell from that angle. Great support, great driving play. And actually, given that the Irish had the opportunity to reorganise their defence, they should really have prevented that.
So a quick riposte to that fortunate Irish try. by Namibia. Extra spring in the heel. And a bit of a taste of Irish medicine there with that good little drive. Kusselman. Well, that's rather a gift for Shane Horgan. Well, one way, the other way, ends up on the deck. Treacherous surface there, let's be fair. Ronan O'Gara. Oh, well, they were lucky to get away with that, having let it bounce. I don't know what Mouton was doing, just watching it. The bounce favoured Namibia. Quite a nice angle, good tackle from O'Gara. Husselman again. This time, Probler, I think, was out wide. Well, straight into the Irish pack. Rebounds Namibia's way. Offside. Just about 20 seconds remaining of this first half. Ireland won't be too content, will they, David Soul?
No, they've spurned a number of chances. They really have had the majority of possession, the majority of territory, and the scoreline should be significantly greater than it is.
Cleared to touch by Gervin Dempsey, and that is the half-time whistle appropriately on the halfway line. Well, Ireland are there in the lead at 33 points to 7. They've scored 5 tries. They've got their bonus point in the bag. That's important. So plenty more excitement to come. And 33-7 the score. Reaction from Irishman Brendan Mullin and from Francois Pinard after this break.
The Irish side are out back in the rain in the Aussie Stadium in Sydney, so let's go back to our commentary team of David Soul and Nigel Starmer-Smith.
Welcome back to Sydney. The moths are still flying into the floodlights, but the rain is still pouring down. It really is a wretched night and a shame, really, particularly for so many who've come to fill the stadium and watch. Well, what everyone would have said was certain to be a good win for one of the big fish against one of the minnows. But I think Ireland, as Francois and Brendan were saying, have not impressed us that they hoped they might. It'd be interesting to see with regard to Ronan O'Gara the second half. Or will Eddie O'Sullivan do as he so often does and take one off with maybe 20 minutes to go? It's a key thing, isn't it? Who's going to start?
Yes, it depends on how confident he is in either one's performance, really.
So here we go with Andrew Cole. And Ireland underway, the second half, and immediately with possession. Brian Miller, O'Gara, Quinlan. O'Gara bottled up there, lying over it and not releasing.
Well, I thought there was a knock-on from an Irish hand at the kick-off, but clearly Mr. Cole, the dentist, thought not.
Mr. Cole, the dentist, from Australia, and he's not filling in for anyone else. Shortened line-out with Namibia's ball.
I'm holding my head in my hands.
Yeah. Francois Pienaar was saying Dave Watterson, interesting character, of course. As he said, he had a part with Francois. Technical advice during their glory run to the World Cup in South Africa. Prior to that, or sorry, subsequent to that, he was then involved with the Tongan squad, and now his third World Cup country, his second year as coach of Namibia. Secure ball to Stringer, whipped away to O'Gara. Not much penetration.
Well, interesting, that scrum. The scrum half was binding as a blindside flanker, the Namibian scrum half, Nicholas Hustelman. I know most people want to play on the forwards, but it's not a strange thing to be doing.
To touch from Vessels, Stellenbosch University. They won the Western Province League last year. Young up-and-coming player at 24. And he his first cap in the qualifying games. Winners of the African group, Namibia, who have possession now. Vessels puts one up, Herter chasing. Gets knocked back, tidied up by Malcolm O'Kelly. Touch not found. Mouton. Agara got that one beautifully just in front of him, gave him the initiative and the impetus to nearly clear the break. Alan Quinlan. You can see just how torrential that rain is persisting to be.
Well, poor turnover by Ireland there. Namibia winning the put in the scrum. Namibia have put a couple of kicks up, which have been exactly the right thing to do in these sorts of conditions, but they need to get more runners around where the ball's coming down. There was only one person challenging for the ball on both those occasions.
Musselman, difficult ball to operate with. Experienced player from Schlanger. Midfield. They eluded Stringer but ran straight into Quinlan, and that shot through Quinlan's legs. Horgan to chase. Quite a clever little kick really by Brian O'Driscoll there.
Yes, and there was no one home there. Horgan, if the ball had stayed in play, Horgan had a clear run into line, but as it is O'Driscoll's put his forwards in a good position. You can challenge at the line out now. They're doing well in poaching ball.
Taken. Second bounce virtually for Malcolm O'Kelly. Horan. Dreams of glory snuffed out. One tried so far in the game. Agara wide at the feet of O'Driscoll, picked up by Maggs, knocked on by Hickey.
Well, they're not the best conditions to be throwing out long miss passes. They got away with the first one. The second one wasn't a great pass, too far in front. They need to be very safe. That's a real Barnes-Wallace effort, that one.
For youngsters who don't know who Barnes-Wallace was, of course he was the man who invented the bouncing bomb, which was used on the dams in Germany in the last World War. Extraordinary invention. They used to call my passes that from the base of the scrum. Most of the fly halves I played with. I changed it to Stanislas to Barnes-Wallace. 7 metres out from the Namibian line. Woody, Keith Wood, head first as ever. But Miller turning round. Clearly the ball is a handful to hold. Hayes, Stringer, surely now, Quinlan. Well, I think again Ireland rather guilty of trying to do a little too much on their own, and they've turned it over, and I think crowd are very jubilant at the fact. And Ireland really are missing opportunities. I know it's a difficult ball to handle in some ways. The fewer passes the better, but when you've got a sort of 2 or 3 man overlap. Mark given and taken.
Well, I think some people are appealing the fact that Grobbler was outside of the 22 there, but in fact the touch has been given.
Pierre Grobbler, well, he's karate specialist, and again someone from the real outback, from Keekman's Hook. And it's the home of the rare Karakul lamb. Fascinating country, Namibia, formerly Southwest Africa. Lots of minerals and wonderful animal life. This is Hickey from the other wing. Not releasing quickly enough.
Just another unforced error, which Ireland really need to be eradicating from their game. I think the other thing they need to be doing is at the moment that the ball carriers are going very close to the ruck and maul, I'd like to see them using one or two options, perhaps one or two passes off that, rather than just a straight confrontational attack. Because in these sorts of conditions, the impact is forcing the ball to be squeezed out, and that's where a lot of mistakes are coming.
In the context of their pool, David, I'm not sure this is helping a great deal as a warm-up to Argentina and then Australia.
No, I think in some respects you could say that having Argentina and Australia at the end of the pool match is a good thing, but on the other regard, you know, they'd like to be tested a little bit more and put under pressure, and they're not really being put under pressure this evening by Namibia.
No. Gervin Dempsey, he got the direct kick and took it well and was held, and so the Ireland's put into the scrum. Oh, a pair of baldies there, familiar enough, aren't they? Keith Wood and John Hayes. Keith Wood back with Munster. It's a good angle. Nicely screwed down the right-hand touchline by Ronan O'Gara.
The man, the Namibian coach, Dave Waterston. Can't imagine they get this sort of weather in Namibia that often.
Got the right name for the night. Back goes Stringer. Tidies up loose ball. Good work by Eric Miller. I beg his pardon, it was Simon Easterby, wasn't it? Simon Easterby, one of the two brothers in the squad, of course, both products of Ampleforth College. Simon now in the Perthley squad. His brother's on the bench, Guy, and he's a member of scrum half with Rotherham. Neil du Toit.
Well, he's had a few problems this evening with that neck, and you don't like to see prop forwards having neck problems.
No. And he's the man who came into the international rugby at the age of 33, made his debut against Zimbabwe last year. He's another from out in the wilds on the edge of the Kalahari Desert. Well, you may have heard over the public address system, over 35,000 here tonight. And I'm sure the empty seats that are scattered around the place would have been filled but for the torrential downpour which preceded the kickoff. So it was a sellout, that I do know. Stadium of 40,000 was sold out for Ireland versus Namibia in Sydney. But it's World Cup, and these are all so much a part of World Cup rugby, the transformation of nations, and Quinlan's going to get a straight run in from the charge down. Well, unlucky for Namibia, but you've got to be there to charge them down, and as yesterday with Lewis Moody for England against South Africa, so tonight Alan Quinlan, another back row man, gets double his number of tries he's scored previously for Ireland. He goes from 2 to 4, that's his second tonight.
Well, not just quick enough to release that ball. Very straightforward run in for Quinlan there.
Aforementioned man of Tipperary won his first cap in the last World Cup. And a couple of tries to remember tonight by. Well, it's all good-spirited, good humour. The pity you can't see all the colours, actually, which have been covered over by all the rain covers that have been issued by these very efficient staff at the stadium. But all the green supporters' jerseys have been covered for the evening. Here's Agara. Just pushed it out a bit wide of the right-hand post. 38-7, 11 minutes into the second half.
And really, Ireland just need to keep their concentration now. Keep working and almost practice under pressure.
That was Miller. Stringer, O'Gara. 4 out of 6 is tally for kicks. Humphries, of course, another formidable place kicker. Miller. Left for Stringer. Wood in his favourite position, fly half.
Holding on to the ball that time. Again, I think some of the Irish decision-making in terms of direction hasn't been that great this evening. Stringer had a lot of players out left. Namibia had very few defenders. I think they would have made a lot more of that if they'd gone left rather than right. But Keith Wood obviously keen to get his hands on the ball.
So first replacements, 2 and 9. Off goes Stringer and Keith Wood. And on comes, I mentioned a short while ago, in Guy Easterby. His first touch to Agara. So will it be Shane Burns to throw in? He gets straight into the action as replacement for Keith Wood with the throw into the line-out.
Well, the touch judge has given the throw into Ireland. I'm not entirely convinced that the Namibian player Pedro touched it on the way out.
Yeah, I heard the referee ask Stuart Dickinson to touch it on this near side. Burns throw. Well, it wasn't straight, was it? Tricky coming off the bench, though, slippery ball. It's bad enough throwing in before you've really got into the action.
It's interesting. I think Stringer and Wood are both critical men in this Irish team, and I think, if anything, Eddie O'Sullivan is taking them off to preserve them for big games. They've done their job this evening. They can have a bit of a rest.
Vessel's setting it up. Now he's got the support of the pack. Not sure he got injured. He's taking a while to get up the fly half. Dempsey, Gervin Dempsey. Oh, well, you saw what happened to Mags there, and he just slipped, as he waited for the ball, tried to accelerate, and his boots, maybe the studs weren't long enough, I'm not sure. There's Brian O'Driscoll. Not a night of starring from him, and the 9 times captain of Ireland has, well, not had much opportunity to shine despite the imbalance against the luckless Mag. They're good pairing though, aren't they, those two, David? Different styles, but they work well as a blend.
Yes, they are. The broadsword and the rapier.
This is Vessels. Oh, well, he slipped through 3-4 Irish attempted tackles, ducked and dived. Now back inside to Senecal. The man from the Cardiff Blues in his second World Cup. But again, one has to commend the spirit and effort of an underdog side who are outclassed, but they're still, like Romania, Uruguay and others, they do try and take the game to the opposition. Just away in time from O'Driscoll. Big clearance too. And people are very quick to say, well, they're meaningless games, but you ask these Namibians, this to them is probably the highlight of their career, and they, you know, they would anyone said, what on earth are you doing here? It's a waste of time, isn't it? You'd be shot down, wouldn't you, in flames?
Definitely. I mean, denying someone the right to appear in the World Cup is absolute sacrilege. And, you know, they've done terrifically well to get here in the first place, and just to pit themselves against some of the best players in the world will be a fantastic opportunity for them, and they'll be able to dine out on it for the rest of their lives.
And take back the experience, of course, of the learning process on the field, not just for the players, but for the coaching staff as well, and spreading the gospel within the smaller countries. 19 clubs there are in Namibia. And you know, they've done well to come through, and you know, they've beat Madagascar and Zimbabwe and Tunisia, and a lot of people wouldn't know rugby was played in those countries, but believe me, it is. 94 countries around the world now in the International Rugby Board, and 88 of those entered this World Cup, starting in September the year 2000, qualifying rounds. And it's ended up with these last 20, and Namibia are amongst them. Well, it's all a bit scrappy, but you can put a lot of that down to the conditions. And it's thwarted Ireland, and of course has, in some senses, helped Namibia. They've kept the score with inbounds. They'll be far from embarrassed by 38-7 against one of the top nations of the world.
Dutoy, I think his neck troubling him still.
So clearly Proctor is going to be replaced. Just time to mention to you then that there's more action coming up immediately after this game on ITV2, when Georgia will take on Samoa. That'll be a lot of fun, I'm sure. Excitement there. Tomorrow morning, though, don't forget, Scotland resume their campaign, and they'll be taking on the USA up in Brisbane. I hope we get there too, David. That's on ITV1, Scotland versus USA. ITV1, 10 past 10 tomorrow. Hope you'll be joining us then. Here from Easterby. And again, scrum half trying to find a little gap, a little chink in the defence. Scrum is good. We do, of course, have a website which has got everything you want to know about the World Cup, lots on it of interest. Keeps you up to scratch and up to date. Us too, actually, we use it here. It's www.itv.com/RWC. David spends, well, every evening on it when you're not on the plane.
And you spend time on it if you can log on, Nigel, don't you?
I'm not the technical wizard, have problems. Here's a chance. Quinlan going for a hat-trick. Pirouettes through one tackle, is brought to ground 2 meters out. There are men outside here. Well, they're overcomplicating themselves, and O'Driscoll was running into his big number 8, Miller. Now it's Guy Easterby, stretches and gets. Guy Easterby, the scrum half, just a couple of minutes on as replacement. Scores his 6th try. The elder brother of the two Easterbys on the pitch. And a man, of course, who's become the regular understudy for Peter Stringer.
Well, I thought there might have been some illegal blocking there. You see Shane Byrne and the other player go and drive the tackler off, but the referee happy with it. The guy used to be strong enough. There he is, held up there. Brian O'Driscoll's the other cover, taking the tackler off in front of the ball, but far be it from me to referee games. I never used to do that at all.
Yes, that's shades of American football, I think, in that movement. Send your blockers in front of you, and little scum half nips in behind. Suspect that.
I think if they'd actually bound on to Easterby, that would have been slightly more legal.
O'Gara, that's a fine kick again. And in these conditions, you know, it's that much more difficult. That's superb kicking. And there's some happy Irishmen in the crowd. It's 45 points to 7, and we're into the last quarter of the match.
And that'll be some reassurance to Eddie O'Sullivan. O'Gara hasn't always been the most consistent goal kicker, whereas David Humphreys is Mr. Reliable in that area.
Yes, 5 out of 7. It's a good performance, and they've been difficult by and large.
Well, Dutour's actually gone off now.
And replaced by Andris Blow. This is Hickey. Couldn't quite get the gas on that last little jinking run at the end there. He's an exciting player, always has been. Nice with it.
Yes, lovely balanced runner. Going inside and outside, trying to confuse the defence, but eventually he ran out of support and ran into trouble.
Couldn't actually turn as sharply as I think he would normally have done on a dry surface. So, it's Husselman. Well, almost against the head. You don't get many in the modern game. Wasn't in to the referee's satisfaction. Not quite sure what I'd make of the referee's shirts, David. They tend to look a bit like waiters, don't they? Do you know what I mean? Or like a photographer who's, you know, got a bib on.
One of those bibs, yeah.
Yeah. But the other ones he used to have.
Well, I suppose they have to consider a design which is going to be neutral for pretty much every game. And bright orange is not a bad one.
There's Holland aren't playing, are they? Look at that rain. It's cruel, really, for the crowd as much as anything, and it's prevented the game from perhaps showing the great running skills and passing skills that we might have expected. We have another replacement.
Yes, but you make the point. I think it's important that players play in different conditions, and they have to adapt their style of rugby, and the sides that adapt better come away with the spoils.
Just going to say the referee's a bit unhappy because there have been replacements and he's not sure who's gone on, who's come off. Swanepoel come on rather, for Pusselman. And Wessels replaced by Mornay Schroeder. And the referee just wanted some clarification and still does, I believe. So, clock restarts. The referee's got it sorted. And Shane Byrne throws in for Ireland, just inside the Namibian half. Easterby, and then a rather ducking run of Maggs once more. Easterby, O'Driscoll trying to find Shane Horgan. Not been Brian O'Driscoll's night, really, but there's well, ball retention. Leave it alone, says the referee.
No, it hasn't been the conditions, really, for open running rugby, this, but that was better by Ireland. They're actually beginning to recycle the ball a little bit faster. And that enables them to get in behind the defence on the second runner and third runner. Because defences can't reorganise if the ball's quick.
Sorry, it's fizzling out a bit, isn't it, as a game? And so Sean Furter rather goes off. The captain is replaced, which means that Corn Powell will take over. And Jurgens van Lille, I think, will be the player to replace Furter. Rather disconsolate captain of Namibia, but I think he's plenty of grounds for saying, well, this chap's haven't done badly. Jurgens van Lille immediately gets a drive, but there's a penalty.
Well, I'm sure they'll want to go for the extra points rather than just free from a conversion. It's a question of whether they go for the line out or the scrum from set piece, or try some fancy move. Scrum it is.
Well, the Irish pack will love this challenge. Push over try, I think, will be the intent. Which it isn't. Fine. O'Gara. to be again. Miller, O'Gara, Maggs. Or was it O'Driscoll who came on the charge at the last moment? I think. Yeah, it was. Brian O'Driscoll. Smile at last from the young man, his 19th try. I hasten to add, we are a million miles from the pitch. I wasn't looking at the monitor. And Brian O'Driscoll has not been awarded the try. So it might be one now. Back row carry it to the line. The arms go up. The try's not given. Is that the wry smile of O'Driscoll then, that he actually didn't ground it?
I think he just lost control of the ball as he went over. And well, here we go. Video referee.
Now then, the back row took it to the line. Had they reached the goal line? Obviously on the line is the try, and now Corn Powell, Namibia, the captain, in place of Sean Purter. Here we go. You can make a judgment here, as if you were the TV referee. Well, that seems all right, doesn't it?
Well, on the line is a try.
Exactly. That doesn't show anything, really. It used to be, isn't it? I think with the head guard on. No, it's not him. What happened there?
Well, last time they went to the video ref, it took 2 minutes and 20 odd seconds to make a decision. They're obviously taking their job very seriously. Up in Townsville, Donald Courtney had a rub down before he sat in the chair to become the video ref, but it's been awarded this time.
So it's up to the 50 points. Eric Miller, I think. Someone's happy. So his second try of the evening. Happy man. Satisfactory for Ireland. 50 points to 7 in these conditions. Difficult to play fluent, error-free rugby in a torrential downpour from start to finish. It's just coming in. No, goal kick. Yeah, it's been an impressive display, because that again was wide out. That was off the 5-metre line. He's only missed 2, and we've now, well, had a double the required number for a bonus point. 8 tries in all. He's got 6 of them. So further replacement, John Kelly comes onto the wing. And Dennis Hickey will have an early bath.
I think he'll be grateful in this after this weather. He'll be absolutely soaked.
He won't really need one, will he? He'll be a cold shower all night. It really has been unrelenting, and I'm not exaggerating. It's where you wouldn't get a worse night on the Mardyke or Toman Park on a really rough Irish wet night. Well, O'Gara having a little dabble himself there. He's to be back.
John Kelly, I think, has taken Dennis Hickey's place on the wing. I think it's actually Gervin Dempsey who's been replaced.
Yes, he's moved across. Just assumed it was wing for wing, but Hickey's moved across, because they do only have really the one specialist fullback. Hickey, well, someone may be required to play that role, and therefore no harm in giving Hickey that experience, moving off the wing to the number 15 position. Well, there's someone underneath that, and the flag is up for, I think, over robust play, and one of the Namibian players is still down. You know that obviously if you're in the way, then the opponents will just go straight over you, but I think there may have been a bit of unnecessary use of the boot. flag has gone down at the touch judge. Well, they've held them up and prevented any further advance, but there's going to be a bit of consultation here, I think. Stuart Ricketson, the referee.
Last Moore was just rolling forward. Namibian player's fallen on the ground and he's out of the way. 5 Greens just chopped him up a couple of times on the way through there.
Paul O'Connell, that's number 5 Green.
Yeah, back there, just beyond where Jordan is.
Number 5 Green.
5 Green. I'd penalise for Wellington.
Number 5.
Well, it did look a bit unnecessarily robust.
Number 5?
Yeah, I think it was unnecessary. He was out of the way. He was going to come out of the back of that ruck. He didn't need to be trodden upon with such vigour.
Be careful.
He protested. I didn't even see the guy. Well, actually, that wasn't him at all, was it? That was Marcus Horan. It's that incident there, and maybe he couldn't see him. He's upset by the decision, that's for sure, but it's not a yellow card, it is a penalty. So no great effect in that sense. This is Shane Horgan. Used to be O'Gara. Back goes Mouton. Supporting him is Ronaldo Pedro from the Rio Falcons.
Well, I think the Irish forwards can be quite happy with their display this evening. They've competed very well at the line-out, although the Namibian line-out isn't anything of great significance, but they've poached a few balls there. They've looked very secure in the scrum, and they put together some very effective driving mauls. In conditions like this, though, it's not easy to dominate the game, even against the minnow.
Well, they've got this down to quite a good art. There was a little bit of fisticuffs off the side there, involving Malcolm O'Kelly. That seems to be O'Gara. And Maggs gets the pass off, and a nice loop round with O'Driscoll involved. Cutting back is Hickey. Twist turns just short of the line. That's easy. Shane Horgan. And unlike Wendell Saylor, he gets the try he's been hunting for most of the night. Wendell Saylor, the Australian winger, was thwarted. And Australia got 13 tries against Romania, and the star of the piece in the Wallaby colours failed to score. But just a nice layoff from Ronan O'Gara.
Yes, and there was a nice move in the midfield. Kevin Maggs came on a lovely line to set this up. Hickey did well there. Quick recycling, and that makes a difference. Quick ball into Horgan, very straightforward finishing.
Ten tries now, into double figures for Ireland, scored in the opening game against Romania. Looks as though Fishpond Tower, I've just got my binoculars on it. We are indeed a million miles from the playing area.
Even with your 2 sets of glasses and binoculars, you can't catch him.
So they're waiting. And O'Gara has kicked well from the touchlines. There's a long wait for this one. Just wide. Further replacements, and it looks as though the only back we have left is Melrich Africa. And Senegal will take over the captaincy, so this is the third captain of the night. Corn Powell goes off for the second one. But he did play his part and scored the try that Namibia scored. About 8.5 minutes remain. Can Ireland finish with a flourish? 57-7. Further replacements, in fact, it all happens in a great flurry, doesn't it? Simon Best has come on. He, of course, was replacement in turn for Marcus Horan, who moved up when Corrigan had to withdraw from this match for injury. So Simon Best, big occasion for him, the player from Ulster, to win his fourth cap. His first appearance in the World Cup, of course. It's all rather slipping away now, isn't it?
Yes, the game's just really fizzling out. The crowd, I think, are leaving. They recognise that Ireland have won this comfortably. They've got the bonus point. It's been a particularly scrappy game because of the conditions. 30 errors in total.
Perhaps a telling statistic to follow that with the missed tackles of Namibia.
And as the replacements come on and as you get injuries, just the momentum of the game seems to get lost. Especially when it's not such an intense game as it was between England and South Africa last night. It was real nail-biting stuff right to the final whistle.
Swanepoel.
Before the ball. Off the mark. Before the ball. Leave the ball. Back 10.
Reluctant to leave the ball behind, Ireland. Safely taken by Hickey in the full-back role, but that's akin to the winger's role these days as well, much the same. And as he slips, the ball's released and away come Namibia. Big cheer for them, biggest of the night probably. Apart from the try, Archie Graham feeds on. Ireland scurry back. And Africa trying to find Pedro. Good bounce, good drive from Mouton. Touch judge's flag is up. So near, good effort. The big winger, Dion Mouton.
Well, that had the crowd on their feet. I'd love to see a consolation try by Namibia. There he is. Put on the line, that's out.
And stopped from getting there anyway. John Kelly came back. And we're getting the odd little injury, and of course, awkward falls, awkward slips can create like muscular pulls and so on. Well, David, looking ahead, you've seen Argentina, seen Australia as well. Is this going to be, I mean, I guess it's a difficult night to decide or determine.
Yes, I don't think you can really take too much in terms of the form book in relation to this performance. Argentina will be a very different proposition, though, for Ireland. Very physical up front, a terrific set of forwards. And I'm sure they'll look to try and dominate this Irish pack in the same way that they tried to dominate against Australia. But a few mistakes, lost a lot of line-out ball against the Australians. One or two mishaps in the front row, and they just were unable to get a rhythm together.
Well, a long way short of a record score that some have been predicting here tonight. Mind you, it will be Ireland's first ever win against Namibia. But their record score in the international is 83 points to 3 against the USA with 13 tries, and we're nowhere near that. Against Zimbabwe, they scored 55 points in 91. That was the opening game of that World Cup series when Ireland reached the quarter-final. Since then, 50 against Japan. And 53 against the USA. It's not a massacre, though, in the sense. A lot of points, but Hasn't been all one-sided. Eric Miller's been very prominent. O'Gara, O'Driscoll, Horgan, Hickey, the quicker of the two. A real flyer would have made it.
Yes, I think so. Shane Horgan, he's a big physical fella, great at taking contact and offloading the ball in the tackle, but you compare him to someone of Joe Rokotoko's pace. Rupeni Zaudau, I was going to say.
Last 4 minutes. If you've just joined us, it's been a very wet night here in the Aussie Stadium. Ireland never in doubt, and maybe just rounding it off. Surely they'll use the width this time. They do, and John Kelly goes over. John Kelly came on as replacement. His 8th try. Another man of Munster.
Yeah, straightforward this one. Good hands despite the conditions. And I think if you offered Ireland 10 tries at the beginning of this match, they'd probably have taken it and been very happy with it. You just have to think about the way in which they've achieved those 10 tries and the fact that they could probably have scored 2 or 3 more.
Again, it's from wide out. And again. Well, I must say, because of the difficulty of most of these kicks, it has been a terrific display by O'Gara. That's his 7th conversion. So 10 tries, 50 points, 7 conversions, 14 points, adds up to 64. It's been a good kicking night, and that would be a big comfort, as David Soul said earlier to Eddie O'Sullivan, knowing that he's got David Humphries in the bag as well in the kicking role. So the supportive crowd here are just beginning to slip away on this dank, really torrential evening of rain, or evening of torrential rain. Miller once more. Certainly kept running, this Irish side.
Penalty for collapsing the maul there. Again, Ireland have been very composed in their driving maul. They need to be a little bit careful with Shane Byrne hanging off at times. He conceded 1 penalty, and I think with the amount of press coverage that there's been over the last week or so on this attacking maul as a driving weapon, they'll need to be a little bit careful when they come to play Argentina and Australia.
Well, I think they'll be glad to get into the hot bath, or showers, with a minute to play. It's fizzling out. It's a bit of a damp squib of an end. But Namibia will remember the night. First time they've ever been beaten by Ireland.
And at least it's warm rain in Sydney.
This is true. And this wonderful city. Going to round it up in style. A good time pass. Oh, dearie me.
How many times have we seen that this evening? Final pass just not quite going to hand.
John Kelly on the end. Nice slide though, good style.
I was going to say, with an attempted catch like that, he ought to be next door at the Sydney Cricket Ground.
Or possibly the swimming pool. Yeah. 2 spins with tuck. High diving board. 10 seconds. Including injury time. So a pretty satisfying evening, I guess, overall for Ireland. You can't complain at 10 tries. You can't complain at a kicking display like we've seen. And by the look of it, no untoward injuries. There is the final whistle. We've got a long run back to the changing rooms. They're the furthest corner. Great crowd support. Says a lot for rugby and the popularity of the World Cup in Sydney. It ends with Ireland victorious, 64 points to 7. Argentina and Australia to come for them, of course. But there we are. That's the wrap here from the Aussie Stadium in Sydney. From David, myself, good night.